Friends, this is a lecture 5 in the freelance journalism series. Until now, I have explained to you what is freelance journalism, how is it different from working journalist, however, what is the difference between a freelance journalist and a working journalist, what are the market opportunities, etc. నువ్వు అట్లా తగ్గుతే ఎట్లయితే నాన్న గంటలు తగ్గితే పట్టుబడి చాలు ఏంది బయటికి వాళ్ళగా ప్రకా ఏనా మళ్ళీ నువ్వే రావాలి అక్కడ మళ్ళీ చెప్పాలా Yeah, friends, this is lecture 5 in the freelance journalism lecture series. In this lecture, we will discuss about planning and generating material information for stories. Well, in my previous lectures, I explained to you elements of effective writing. I have also explained to you, especially the last class, locating the ideas for stories. So what should I write on? So once you decide what you have to write on, then the next immediate task and the most complex task is where do I get information on the subject? Whom should I contact? How should I gather information on the subject? What are my sources of information? Well, these are some of the questions which confront you. Let me explain with an example. Well, I wanted to write on the farm bills. Well, you can see my article on the farm bills in the link given in the description. So once I wanted to write on the farm bills, so I will have to plan the material for that. So the planning stage, you should know what you want to gather. So the sources will come later. First of all, you should know what you have to gather. So first of all, it begins with what are the farm bills. So I have to know the farm bills in detail. Well, two of the farm bills have been adopted by the Rajya Sabha. So I think on Sunday, well, it has come in the newspapers next day morning. But sometimes what happens is there will be gaps in information. I remember that the government was mulling 3 bills, but only 2 bills were passed. So there's a question in my mind, what happened to the 3rd bill? Was it already adopted or will it come later as the government dropped the bill? Because every human being has a limitation of information. I have read about these 3 bills extensively in the past. But somehow I missed the point. Why were only 2 of the 3 bills taken? Next morning I read the Hindu. It says 2 of the 3 agricultural bills have been adopted by the Rajya Sabha by voice vote. So obviously I started inquiring. I spoke to a couple of farmers leaders to know what happened to the 3rd bill. The 3rd bill was Essential Commodities Act Amendment. So subsequently I found that it is introduced later. So this is the first stage. You should have a clarity on what is the current position on the topic you are writing. Have a very latest update of what is happening on that particular topic. So when I am writing on the GST compensation for states, I should know what is the latest. Who knows, the center might have accepted the state's demand. Who knows, states might have given up the demand. Who knows, a court might have given some order on that. So on any topic, whenever you want to write something, you should know the latest update, the basic news peg on which you are writing upon. So, for example, you want to write a story on urban flooding in Hyderabad. We have recently seen floods in Hyderabad, a flood-like situation in Hyderabad, in different parts of Hyderabad, especially due to heavy rain. So, your work on this story begins with the current position, current situation. What is the intensity of rainfall? Which areas of Hyderabad have faced this rainfall? And what is the current position? So how many people have died, washed away in the manholes? So that is something which you have to begin the story. So begin the story with the current, latest update on that particular topic. So I gave you the example of the farm bills. So then comes, you start gathering information on that. I'll first tell you the general sources of information. Well, newspapers, clippings are obviously the first source of information. Earlier, when we were journalists at the early stage of our career, we used to keep the paper cuttings. A lot of dust used to pile up on that. It was a very difficult task to preserve that paper cuttings for a long time. Subsequently, with the advent of technology, this information storing and retrieval system has become very, very easy. You don't need to do anything also. If you just type in Google Uncle will tell you the all kinds of stories that have been published on this. So online sources of material published in newspapers, magazines, websites, etc., etc., is the first source of information. So this is called in research as a review of literature, survey of literature. So you survey the literature on the topic to exactly understand what has already been written on it, and what is left out. So what is that you have to write on that? What kind of a new angle you can take on that? So it's of no use if you write the same thing. Well, you can't prevent when a particular topic is in news, many people will write on that. But this survey of literature will help you to understand comprehensively various aspects of the story, various dimensions of the story. So once I read what has been already published on the farm bills, I will know what exactly are the tenets of these bills. So the one bill refers to the freedom for the companies and farmers to trade with each other at a mutually agreeable conditions. The second bill refers to corporates or companies being allowed to undertake contract farming. Well, the third bill refers to lifting or raising the stocks or lifting the limits of stocks which anybody can hold, especially the restrictions on stocking or storing cereals and other agricultural produce. So I have to first read what are the elements of that bill. So newspapers will give you, but remember, a newspaper may be doing a mistake. So if you over rely on online sources, like newspaper, online sources can be even the print sources. You need not keep the copy of the newspaper, but you can read it online. So the print editions also, you cull out the information online. Well, this survey of literature is an advantage for you because you know all kinds of things about it will be known to you very easily. But the problem here is, who knows whether that particular person has written correct thing. So you have to cross check. Otherwise, you will be multiplying the mistake. You will be perpetuating the mistake. If somebody has written something wrong, and if you don't cross check, if you don't verify, you will actually be repeating. Don't believe anyone. Even if he's a very famous agricultural economist, don't believe. Always cross check. How do I cross check, sir? Well, when you read multiple sources, obviously that itself cross checks. One person may commit a mistake, 10 people won't do the mistake. Suppose if you read only one or two write-ups on that particular topic, 2 stories on that particular topic, 2 published items on that particular topic, there is a possibility that a mistake might creep into your mind. But obviously when you read 10 stories on that, 20 stories on these bills, so reference to the multiple sources reduces the risk of committing a mistake. That's one way of doing it. Second, you may you may depend on more authentic online sources. Suppose I want to read about these bills. I want to know what exactly is there in the bills. So instead of reading the reports in the newspapers, I will go to the summary of the bill. I'll go to the extract of the bill. Well, the parliament website may give you the total bill, but it is extremely difficult to read, understand, comprehend the total bill because that is written in a very, very difficult legal language and it's written extensively. So, objectives, the bill, this thing, that thing, extremely difficult. You can't even understand sometimes. You get bored of it. So, you look for the summary of the bill. So, where do I get? So, the PRS legislative group. It's one of the most authentic sources of information on things that happened in Parliament. Anything you want to know about Parliament, please go to the PRS legislative group. So, this is a very famous website. A person called Madhavan still of PRS legislative group still writes for Hindu, Business Line, etc., etc. There was an article by Madhavan on labor reforms, the new labor code, bills which are coming up in the Hindu yesterday op-ed page. So this is the source. So obviously you go to this PRS legislative group and search for it. Well, you may ask me, sir, what's the guarantee that the PRS legislative group may not also commit a mistake? Well, that's always there. The solution is you directly read the bill. If you have patience, read the bill. Otherwise, read the summary of the bill. So once you know about the summary of these farm bills, then comes what stand should I take? Never have a predetermined opinion on anything. Don't be prejudicial. A journalist, an independent journalist, will always depend upon facts. He will form opinion based on facts. Don't form an opinion and search for facts to substantiate your opinion. There are two ways. One, read the facts, read the various arguments, formulate an opinion on that. You have to be first convinced about what you are writing. Second, some people have an opinion and they start searching, they start fishing for the facts to support their opinion. That's a very bad journalism. So an independent journalist, a non-partisan journalist, an objective journalist will always base his opinion on the facts. So once you know the facts, you start studying various arguments on that. There are innumerable number of articles defending the farm bills. There are articles criticizing the farm bills. Always exposed to varied sources. So obviously read pro-government sources, read opposition sources, read articles who have a very critical opinion. They may not be pro-government or anti-government, but essentially have a very critical assessment of the farm bills. And also read the articles which are supportive of the government stand. For example, Niti Aayog, the chief, has written a detailed article, I think in some daily yesterday, on the farm bills. He has explained his stand, arguing that the farm bills will radically change the agricultural economy in India. That is one viewpoint, which is totally supportive of the government stand, obviously the Niti Aayog chief. Then 2 days back, the Hindu carried an article by Himanshu, an associate professor in the Center for Economic Studies and Planning, Jawaharlal Nehru University, who is supposed to be one of the very authentic economists. I have read Abhijit Banerjee's, I was watching Abhijit Banerjee's interview given to Karan Thapa. Abhijit Banerjee was referring to empirical data provided by Himanshu in some of his articles. So obviously when a Nobel Prize winning economist and an MIT professor says that Himanshu is an authentic economist, authentic researcher, so I respect. So he was very critical of these farm bills. So Niti Aayog chief is also very authentic. So he has an opinion supporting the bills. So Himanshu has an opinion opposing the bills. So once there may be people who are somewhere in between. They support some provisions of the bill, they oppose other provisions of the bill. So this kind of an exposing to various arguments, counter arguments, points, counterpoints will enrich your understanding. So therefore, newspaper articles published on the authentic websites, official sources of information. So these are some of the sources. Or documents, well, there may be some research done by some organization. So this is how you continuously pick up these information sources. So friends, until now I explained to you some of the sources. So the previous literature is one source. So published articles. So in published articles you have to read various versions. Don't censor anything. Read as much as you can, as varied as you can, provided the both should be authentic. Then the second one is documents. When you go through the bills directly, it's called a document. Third, research reports. So Niti Aayog might have done a research on some of these topics, or World Bank might have studied on impact of corporates entering agriculture. International Monetary Fund might have studied something. Center for Monitoring Indian Economy might have studied something. National Farmers Commission headed by M.S. Swaminathan might have said something. Jayati Ghosh committee that looked into the farmer suicides in United Andhra Pradesh might have mentioned something about it. So these are called research reports. So research reports by individual experts, research reports by organizations. Here again you have to depend on authentic, well accredited, highly respected, highly professional individuals and agencies. And here you should take care that you have to go through divergent sources. Don't depend on only one source. So if you read a report by Center for Monitoring and Economy, you should also read a report by Niti Aayog. If you read a report by the World Bank, you should also read a study done by critics of the World Bank. So that is how you develop a broad understanding. Then experts can be good sources. Someone who knows about this subject, a professor in agronomics, an agriculture scientist. So the experts also played, someone who worked with the Food and Agriculture Organization, somebody who has worked in this area and has produced some worthwhile information on this subject. So if you directly speak to agriculture experts, economists, then you'll get a lot of information. I was writing a piece on can center intervene in deciding the capital of a state. So there's a big debate on the 3 capitals bills passed by Andhra Pradesh Legislative Assembly. I have spoken to some of the legal luminaries. I have spoken to some of the retired Supreme Court judges to understand, can center interfere in it? Can courts interfere in it? I have gone through the affidavit filed by the Government of India. So affidavit filed by the Government of India is a documentary source. Then legal luminaries and former retired judges of Supreme Court are expert sources. So documents, research reports, Shivaramakrishnan committee has given a report, committee reports of committees. So on farm bills, M.S. Swaminathan committee given a big report, huge report, voluminous reports on the condition of farmers. Well, it may be a couple of years back, but certainly you might have referred to the aspects that are mentioned here, because these bills talk about allowing corporates and companies in agricultural trade. So the National Farmers Commission report might have has certainly talked about the impact of allowing corporates into the in agriculture trade, the inadequacies of minimum support price, etc., etc. So exports, documents, research reports, reports of committees, commission of inquiries, all this will form an important source. So webinars, these days webinars are becoming a common feature. So there may be a webinar on this topic somewhere where some important people are spoken. And stakeholders is a very big source. Who are the stakeholders here? Farmers are stakeholders. Corporates which deal with agricultural trade are stakeholders. So you have stakeholders, the traders, commission agents, existing traders, officials in agriculture department, which who are actually deal with the policy making, legislators who have an experience in such subjects, actual farmers, speaking to farmers directly. For example, a similar experiment was done in Kuppam way back during the Chandrababu Naidu's earlier term. It was called a contract farming. So what was the experience of this contract farming? You can speak to someone who has studied the Kuppam project, or you can speak to the Kuppam farmers directly, or leaders of the farmers organizations, leaders of agribusiness companies. So someone who is in the agribusiness trade, food processing trade. So you can speak to Reliance Fresh. So like this, you try to speak to the divergent stakeholders, individuals and groups, to understand their perceptions on the particular topic. So you can go back and read what are the international experiences. Was this attempted for the first time in India? Allowing corporates into agricultural trade, allowing contract farming, corporate farming. Is it for the first time happening in India? I'm sure not. There are experiences in Latin America, Africa. So try to identify some good sources which tell us what kind of experiences have been documented in other countries. Well, something goes right in Latin America can also go right in India. Something goes wrong in Latin America can also go wrong in India. Well, there can be exceptions. I'm not telling with all certainty, but there can be exceptions. So you try to do that. So if possible, you go to the field observation. Direct observation is the very big source. Suppose if I want to write on the contract farming, if I really visit Kuppam and see what exactly happened there, what is the impact of contract farming, I will certainly understand, if not Kuppam, some other place. So you directly involve yourself. Don't always depend on secondary data. Primary data, go to the field, observe it. If you're writing on urban flooding, if you sit at home and write, that's not the correct way of writing a story. You have to go to the places in Hyderabad where the heavy rain caused flooding. You speak to the local people. You speak to the officials of the GHMC. Then also speak to experts in disaster management. Then also read reports on urban flooding in the National Disaster Management Authority website. So don't sit at home, that's armchair writing. Don't do that. So observation is a very big source of information because you directly see the situation, talk to the people. It all depends upon the topic. It's always better if you observe yourself rather than depending on someone. So that's called the primary data. So you directly speak to the stakeholders. You directly observe the situation. You directly gather data from the field. So that's called the primary data. Well, secondary sources can include something which has already been written, published in research reports, documents, newspaper articles, leading websites, etc., etc. So whatever, once you are given, you have talked about some sources of information here. So once you gather all this information, sit and process the data which you have collected. And assess whether this is sufficient for you or you want to do that. Always it is better you gather information in phases. Sometimes you feel it is enough for you. But once you read, there will be a lot of gaps, critical gaps in information. You go back and collect information. So gathering information, generating information will also be in phases sometimes. So after reading something, you get a doubt. After observing something, you get a doubt. After speaking to some people, you get a doubt and you go back and speak to them. So when you plan for information, you have to know what exactly you wanted to collect and be precise in your questions. I was speaking to a very important legal luminary on the constitutional aspects of the Three Capitals Bill. So I was prepared. I was asking questions. Again, he once stopped me and asked, "Are you really testing me, or do you really want information from me?" So I said, "Sir, we will have to play the role of a devil's advocate. As a journalist, how will I elicit information unless I have a question?" So the acumen, the talent of a journalist is essentially dependent on the ability to question. So if you want to generate more and more material, if you want to gather more information for a story, you should ask more and more questions. Go on asking questions. Identify the gaps in information. Always depend on authentic sources. Always validate and revalidate information you have collected. Don't depend on a single source. Any intelligent source may go wrong. So I have given you certain aspects of planning, generating material for stories. We will do more videos. I'll discuss many more aspects of freelance journalism in my next videos.